Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Nothing new in the US policy. There is presidents, administrations come and go, and they mirror one another. Why? Because the foundation is in charge, not this kind of presidents, or they are just over there to do a job for the foundation. You can call it however you want. So I'm going to give you a few examples where Trump mirrors the same thing Obama did. For instance, Trump has a problem with the Caribbean boats, and Obama had problems with, what was that? Yemen, was it? Pakistan and Yemen. The same thing. Why? Because it's someone else who wants that, not Obama or Trump. And then we find out that Russia copies the United States of America. And when someone copies the United States of America, that's fantastic. And that is, Russia designates a group as terrorist organization. Like the Americans designated, the narco-terrorists in Venezuela. Therefore, they're going to do whatever they want. And copying the United States of America, we're told, is good. All right. Then we find out that the Russians say, you know what? We're just going to copy you more. So if you are going to start again nuclear tests, we will do it again. So we're going to follow, and you're going to be the leader. It's up to you. We're going to just mirror your behavior. Putin goes to India for a state visit from the 4th to the 5th of December. That's if these guys could not stop that, and they've been trying so far. India won, Canada lost. Why? Canada and India resumed trade talks after 2-year pause. Why? Because the Indians did something, they say, in Canada that the Americans do all the time around the world. But hey, if the Indians are doing it, allegedly, it's wrong. If the Americans are doing it clearly, that's right. Why? They designate whomever, whatever. I will show you. You remember what happened between Canada and India? With that guy who was clack in Canada, all right, and this guy's pointed the finger at the Indian special forces. All right, well, the Americans do that, or Israel does that all the time, and it's because they are good, they can do it. But since India was designated as bad, they can't do that whatsoever. To the free democratic Canada, you can't do that, man. Then we find out that this is the pinnacle of the culmea tâmpenie, the pinnacle of stupidity. The European Union, they tell Putin, Zelenskyy is democratically elected. Is, not was, is democratically elected. And I wonder who said that. Because if you look at, let's say, von der Leyen, who voted for her? The European Commission? How was she catapulted there? Okay, all right, Zelenskyy is democratically elected. Is King Charles democratically elected? I just wonder, all right, and so on. But hey, and Putin is not democratically elected. Why? They designated. They say so. All right, next one. We're going to talk about the war in Ukraine with 4 articles. The Russians launched some missiles and drones. The Ukrainians claim they held back the Russian advance near Huliaipole in Zaporozhye. It's unbelievable. We hold them back. First they said the Russians don't do anything, and now we find out they hold them back. All right. The other one is the Ukrainians successfully strike Saratov oil refinery and Saky airfield in Crimea. That's it, my friends. And there were 3 articles. The fourth one is music. Okay, ready over there for you. Let's start with the first one. Russia Today, 28th of November, 2025. Trump's drug boat attacks mirror controversial Obama-era tactic. New York Times. Why? Because this tactic is not invented by Obama. It was not invented by Trump. It's invented by the guys in charge. And they said, we need to do it. How? We designate someone or some entity as a bad dude, terrorist organization. We're going to protect you. And we're going to fuck them up inside sovereign independent countries. But then India cannot do this to Canada. No. Let alone do it in the United States of America. Only we can designate targets and terrorist organizations, and only we can violate other people's sovereignty and independence in the name of greater good, like the COVID, remember? All right, so what are these guys talking about? Pentagon officials reportedly deny the comparison despite admitting they don't always know who they kill in the Caribbean. Well, we know that. All right. The Obama-era operations conducted primarily in Pakistan and Yemen relied on detecting patterns of behavior that U.S. intelligence agencies claimed indicated terrorist activity, rather than identifying wrongdoing by specific individuals. Oops, what's this? Not supposed to be like that. All right, too close. Ooh. All right, so that's the way these guys say, well, who, and that was identified by the intelligence agencies. And you remember the intelligence agencies in the United States of America also identified a lot of chemical weapons and weapons of mass destruction owned by Saddam Hussein. Remember they did that? All right, so I don't believe anything these guys say, especially when they do this kind of shit. So that's what these guys are doing. We identify because the intelligence says so, and the Pentagon strikes with the approval or not of the president. And Russia copies that. Here you have Russia Today. Russia designates Navalny's US-registered non-profit as a terrorist organization or group. Prosecutors have accused the pro-Ukraine entity of defending extremism. Okay, so we have here. The Russian Prosecutor General Office said on Thursday that the US-registered pressure group, better known by the Russian acronym FBK, has carried out activities aimed at, and I'm quoting, the propaganda, justification, and support of terrorism. That's it. Done. What does that mean? That means that the Russians, if they want, they can use missiles and drones or people, in the United States of America to eliminate the terrorist organization's group members. So if you have group members in New York or in Washington, D.C., already we have, the Russia reserves its right, by copying the United States of America, to attack and strike inside Yemen and Pakistan terrorist groups. Hoorah! To protect all of us. Not only the Russian people, all of us. So what do you think about that one? Well, I guarantee you the Americans will say, hold on, time out. That's what they're going to say. Why? Only we can designate that. Nobody else has the right given only to us by us. Got that? Got that. All right, so what will happen? These guys are toast, I'm telling you that. Next one. Russia will not be in a situation when US conducts nuclear tests and Moscow does not, Putin says. That means I let it up to you. If you conduct a rape, I will conduct. Now, do you think that's right? Well, don't conduct a rape then. Why? Remember, you fight with a samurai like a samurai. You fight with a thief like a thief. So the Russian says, we're not going to be the first one casting the first stone on Maria Magdalena. No. It's going to be you guys. And we're just going to match it. How about that? All right. Do you think it's wrong? I mean, after all, the Americans are doing something good, and the other guys don't only copy. All right, the next one. Sputnik. Putin to pay state visit to India on December 4 to 5. As of now, these guys will try to stop that. They've been trying already with the terrorist attacks on Kashmir twice in the past, year. So, they will try even more than that. Modi's party won a landslide victory in the elections, democratic elections. But hey, Modi must have done something wrong somewhere. All right, I'm waiting for that. And India is the big winner here. India will jointly produce some, I think even the Sukhoi 54 or 52, whatever it is, they're going to produce it together. India is going to get missiles from the Russians. I know they don't work, only our missile works, okay? Air defense systems and so on. We're going to get oil, cheap price, and sell it at a big premium price on the world market, but they have to block, bob and weave against the good Americans' attacks, diplomatic attack, economic attacks, threats, blackmail, regime change, and so on. They can't attack India as of now. They try through Pakistan. Next one. Canada lost. Why? As I said, what are you going to do against China, Canada? Canada and India resumed trade talks after a 2-year pause. What happened? Well, it happened actually about 3 years ago, I think it was. Hold it. 3 years ago, or even more, when it was more than 3 years ago. It was about 4 years ago, I think, when the Canadian authorities arrested that CEO, the woman CEO of that Chinese microchip, telephone, Huliaipole, okay, remember? Something like that. And they arrested her and said that she's spying. And the Chinese said, yeah, we're going to do the same to you. And they arrested 2, I think, Jewish Canadian former intelligence agents in China. And Canada was like, America, what are we doing? I don't know, you fucked up, I guess. No, because they did it at the orders of the Americans. So the Canadians said, you have to release those guys. And China said, you first. Then that's what happened with China. Now with India, the Chinese, the Canadians, 40 million people with, I think, one third, I think it's 1/3 of the Canadian population is foreign born or something like that. Those are very loyal people to Canada, and they are going to internalize the Canadian culture. They will be Canadians, man. We are going to be Canadians. Now, what happens if I like to drive on the left lane? Let's say you have a minority who's becoming a big minority. Let's say they demand Canada changes that from right to left. What will the Canadian culture do? It's going to be changed. You know what I mean? You can start with that and you end up with eating dogs or something. Oh, I'm not saying people do that. It's just a joke, man. Just kidding. Kidding. All right. So let's see what happened to India. They did the same thing to the Indians. Why? The Indians, the Canadians claim, killed a Sikh separatist who was designated by India, copying the other ones. But no, this guy is a guy who said, we want to break India, we want this. So it was a separatist. India said, we designate this as a bad dude. The Canadians claimed that the killing of this guy was organized by India's services, agencies. I don't know if that's the case. You can't do that in a nice world. In the real world, they do it all the time. Look at Israel. I know it's self-defense and so on. Or look at the Americans. All right. So they say they did it. The Indians said, provide the evidence, Trudeau. Now I know Trudeau now is fucking a younger one and he's all tough guy. Anyway, and what's her name? What the hell is her name? Miss Trudeau. Georgie. What the hell is her name? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, 2 baboons. And he is the baboon in chief. Not anymore. So the Indians said, provide the evidence, man. Bring it on. And the Canadians, we have reliable information from our intelligence services that happened. It was you. Bring it on. They never brought it on. Never. And they were like, we're not going to talk to you. We're going to do what? And Indians said, okay, off. That's what happened. We're not going to talk to you. Bye-bye. And after 2 years, excuse me, we need something from you, India. India said, okay, come on in. Come on in. Just drop your nose, okay, from being so tough. So good. They resume talks, trade talks. Why? Someone wants to sell something or to buy something. Who do you think? I think both. They both have interest. Remember, who came to this one? Next one. Oh my God, look at this. European Union says to Putin, tells Putin, Zelenskyy is democratically elected. Okay, all right. He is. European Commission chief spokeswoman Paula Pino has said that Volodymyr Zelenskyy is Ukraine's democratically elected president and has noted that Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin appears to have difficulties recognizing this. Question to the imbecile Pino. Is Starmer, the Prime Minister of Great Britain or England, as I call it, democratically elected? You say, no, he's through his party, majority, the winner takes it all. He is through their policies, through their policies and process, he is the democratic elected. Keir Starmer. Did Keir Starmer violate it or crossed over, or how do you call it, his term for which he was elected. No, he didn't. Did Zelensky do that? Yes, he did. Well, it's martial law, Emil. And who's in charge of the martial law? Well, the president makes the suggestion, sends it to the Rada, to the parliament, and the parliament says, yeah, that's martial law. So martial law, no elections. Okay. I want to ask you, was Adolf democratically elected? You know, that bad dude that we're all supposed to hate because he was the most evil guy in the world. And he was. Huh? Was he democratically elected? Yes. More than Starmer. And then he became a Führer. And he said, I ban elections and parties in Germany because those guys are bad. We are fighting the communists, man. And then it was the war. Remember, this what happened in 33. In February 1933, not in 2033 yet. All right? So he was democratically elected, and then he became a Führer, like that guy who's not elected anymore. Why? Martial law, man. I protect you against the Russians. I have to tell you, the United States of America was at war with Deutschland and Nihon, with the Japanese and the Italians and the Germans, and they held elections. The Americans held elections during the Second World War. So only Zelensky can't do that, right? Because he's fighting one country with 30 countries supporting him. My friends, this is to be an imbecile. Okay, and if he was democratically elected, all right, he doesn't have difficulties. Putin says this, Miss Paula Pino, Miss Pipi, this is what Putin says. This guy's term expired. I'm afraid that if we, according to our interpretation of your constitution, which you can say, well, I mean, you understand that? I do understand that. But I'm supposed to sign a peace treaty with this guy that we don't recognize. Why don't you hold some elections if you're so certain? You're not so certain. I think they think Zelensky will be like Churchill. You remember, Churchill lost the elections after the war and he won the war. Why is that? Well, his time was to go away. So he said, I don't want to sign anything with this guy. And after 2 years, the Ukrainians come and say, actually, our new interpretation of the constitution is that Zelensky, when he signed it, was not actually the president-elect. He was not in power. He was not a legitimate ruler. Therefore, this document is null and void. Therefore, come over to renegotiate after we had a Respiro and we got armed again. This is what Putin tries to avoid in the eyes of everybody else. Not that it matters. They can change whenever. They can say, I don't recognize this peace document at all. A peace treaty at all. They can say that. The Americans do it all the time. I don't like this treaty. Pak, you're a bad dude. Bomb them. They did to Iran, that one. They did that to Iran. With the Iran nuclear, whatever, documents that they signed, Obama administration, the American administration, Trump said, zero, fuck off. Okay, that's the way it works. All right, and we go to the Ukraine war. New voice of Ukraine. Russia launches 72 drones and N-1 Iskander-M missile at Ukraine in major overnight air assault. That's major. If I don't see here anymore like 500, for me that's not major anymore. I know it sounds sad, but that's reality. Russian forces launched an overnight attack on Ukraine on November 28 using one Iskander ballistic M missile and 72 combat drones. All right, and these guys launched them. The Iskander was fired from Crimea. So where is that? The Iskander was fired from Crimea, from exactly here in Ukraine. And let's see what the Ukrainians did. Ukrainian forces hold back Russian advance near Huliaipole and regain control in this area. Where is Huliaipole? This is right here. This is Zaporozhia here. So Huliaipole is Guliapole right here. This is where they say, let's see if I refresh it. I don't think it's going to be the 28 right here, but hey, no, 27. So there's Guliapole in Zaporozhia right there. They say we stop them. Okay, good for you, but I think you're going to be done in no time. And we find out that General Staff of Ukraine military confirms attack on Russia's Saratov oil refinery and Saky airfield in Crimea. I will show you where these guys are. So let's go to another map. Let's go to this one. And we'll go first to Saky. So So this is somewhere in this area, Saky Air Base, in the, I think one of these two, if I remember correctly, in Crimean Peninsula. Or unless it's a... So here is where they struck the first one, and they're very happy about it. And the other one, Saratov, I will jump to another map. Saratov is right here. Where are you? Papa Tsapa, Maka Maka, Laka Faka. Saratov, you see Saratov here? This is Volga. Okay, this is the Black Sea, this is the Caspian Sea, so Volgograd, that is obviously Stalingrad right there. We go to Saratov, this is where the Engels air base is, right there, but they didn't attack this one with the 295, and not only, they didn't attack this one, they attacked south, right here, this area is that they attacked, because here is where the Russians have the oil depots right there. Got it? So this is far, far away. Good, good, good. You destroy that, the Russian destroys yours, and the price of oil goes up. The Americans penetrate markets that they were incapable to compete against the Russian oil, cheap oil. Therefore, it's good for the Americans, bad for the Ukrainians, bad for the Russians. Good job. So why would the Russians want the war to stop? Thank you very much. Not the Americans, the guys in charge of America, which are not these baboons, Trump, Obama, George W. Bush. These are just the who agree to do those guys' job. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.